Okay, so let's start today's lecture with the Excel file we created in the last lecture. Here we have 3 rows of data plus a header row and 3 columns of data. We're going to create more data now. Let's start by creating more names. We could manually enter into each cell here a new name. We could do this, A2, and then 1000, 1100, and do that row by row by row. But instead, let's do something else. Let's mark these 3 cells. Grab this corner here and pull down. And as we can see, we have repeated the letter at the beginning of each row, but the numbers at the end have increased by 1 at each repetition of the block. So A1, B1, P1 has been changed to A2, B2, P2, and A3, B3, P3, and so on, which I think was very useful. If we were to do the same thing here, what would we get? We would get ever-increasing numbers. But that's not quite what we want right now. Let's instead mark that block, Control-C to copy, move down, Control-V to paste, and again Control-V to paste, and paste. So now we've repeated that block. What should we do here? If we just mark that cell, we can pull that down. This time, there is no increase. That one cell determines the value for all of those. How about if we mark 2 cells? What happens when we mark 2 cells? Again, they stay the same. There's no difference between the values in any of those cells, so Excel doesn't change anything. Let's type in a new value. And now we can fill down to there, and it keeps its value. Let's do that again. And again. So now we have 12 points with unique coordinates. We can do much more with Excel. We can calculate new values. Let's start by trying to calculate the product of the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. We start by entering equals into a cell. And we can choose a cell, or that cell. As you can see, it gets updated each time. We'll start with B2 and then times C2. Press enter and it has calculated the value. We can then fill down and the product then is calculated for each row. As you can see, the row number has been updated when we filled down. Up here we had row 2 and row 3 until the end, row 13. So the fill down function updates the row number. And we can actually do the same when we fill across. As you can see, C and D instead of B and C. Don't worry about this now. It's simply a number. So we go back there. Now what happens if we don't want to update the row each time? What happens if, say, we want to multiply all of the values in the y column with only this value with the value in B2? Well, we can change our formula somewhat. We go up here and then we enter a $sign in front of the 2. That $sign means don't change the row number. We can put a $sign in front of the B as well, and that means don't change the column. But we don't care about the column at the moment, we're only worried about the row. So press enter there. As you can see, the result is still the same. But this time when we fill down, we get different values. If we look here, B2 is still being used. Still being used all the way down. So the $sign locks the reference to the original value. Let's erase this. We can do more useful things. We can build complex functions with the help of parentheses. So let's perhaps enter square root of x plus the square root of y. This means absolutely nothing, but we can just test it. And we can fill that down. What does that tell us? Not very much, but we can certainly apply this to any value in an Excel sheet. So let's erase these values. Now we can start doing something perhaps more useful. Let's start by creating a new sheet, and in here we can enter P benchmark, A first, B temporary. Now, why did we do that? Let's go back to our original point list. We've coded each point with this name, A1, B1, P1. We've chosen these names because the point at P1 is a benchmark. The point at A1 is a first order point. B1 is a temporary point. They have different qualities. The P at the beginning of the name always means that it's a benchmark, and A always means that it's a first order point, and so on. We could now write in the values here, if we want to say quality there, in our next column. But instead of doing that, let's use the join function. In Excel, join isn't called join. We have to do something called VLOOKUP. We press enter. Now we can, if we wish, choose this, insert function. And this gives us a list of all the functions available to us. What we want is a function called VLOOKUP, which is down here somewhere. There we go. The lookup value. Now what does that mean? Well, we want to look up this table array. What do we want to look up? Where do we want to find this value? Well, we want to find it somewhere here. In the first row of that area. And which column do we want to pick values from? We want them from number 2. And then this last row, we can actually set to a 0. We can talk about that later. And then we press OK. And we get this mysterious error message. Now why is that? Well, because A1 does not exist in our area here. How do we extract the A from here so that it can look, so that the VLOOKUP function can look for A here? Well, we can try another function. For example, we can look at the text functions. So if we go here, we have text, and here we have something called left. If we click on left, what does it do? It takes the characters from the left in a text string, and A1 is a text string. So if we click there, the number of characters, we just want the first character. Starting from the left, we just want the first. Okay, as you can see, if we fill down there, well, that certainly looks to be doing the job. Okay, so left is definitely the function we want, but now we need to get it into this cell in our lookup. We'll erase that, we'll go back here, and instead of saying lookup A2 directly, we'll write in here left, open parenthesis, A2, semicolon 1, close parenthesis. These parentheses are used to delimit a function. So left will work on A2 and deliver the first character that it finds from the left in cell A2. It will then use that to look for a common row in this area in sheet 1 and the area A1 to B3 and deliver the second column. It says first. So let's just look at that again. I'll try and explain myself more clearly. VLOOKUP. The first part of VLOOKUP says take whatever's in here, and here we have this left A2, 1. Take that value and then look here for it. So it looks here in this area. And it looks always in the first column and says, can I find that letter that I'm looking for, which was an A in this first case? Yes, I can. It's right here. What do I deliver then? I deliver column 2. In column 2, we have this text. So whatever is equivalent to the letter gets delivered. And then this 0 is a logical function that says find only a true fit, a correct fit. Don't try and guess what I want, which seems a little unnecessary, but we have to do it. So let's fill down and see what happens. It went wrong. Why is that? Simple. We need to fix our references. So we put in dollars. Then we can go back and fill down. And it all works. So that's our first lesson in how to use Excel.